up, swashbucklers? You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 45. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you for tuning in once again. Welcome to all of our new listeners. We had a gangbuster week last week. I'm not sure who was talking about it or who posted the show or what have you, but last Wednesday we had our first day cracking 4 digits in one day. 4 digits. We had over 1,000 downloads last Wednesday, and that is super. That is awesome. So thank you to whoever was talking up the show out there. I appreciate it. Welcome to all you new folks coming on board. I've got a fun interview for you today. Fun fact, this is episode number 45. Fun fact about the number 45. That is the Sapphire wedding anniversary. 45 years, Sapphire wedding anniversary, which is nice because sapphires are relatively inexpensive, and it gives you 5 years to save up for the diamonds for that wedding, the diamond wedding anniversary at year 50, right? Yeah, so that's how that works. My guest today on the show is Michael Elledge, and Michael makes cannon art pieces. He makes non-firing cannons. He makes cannon carriages, and it's really interesting because I know nothing about firearms, nothing about cannons, none of that kind of stuff. And I know that firearms are a very touchy subject in the USA right now, and probably elsewhere in the world, I imagine as well. And so it was a little bit odd running this interview today, but I think it's appropriate because the more you know about things, the more you know how to deal with them. And firearms are not, I'm not a firearms guy. I don't know that much about them. I've never shot a gun, any of that kind of stuff. But I think education never hurts. And of course, what we're talking about today is period cannons and things like that. So, I mean, that's, pretty far away. This is really much more from an historical standpoint that we're talking about these cannons and things like that. But I think education is always a good thing, whichever way we end up dealing with guns in this country, so and beyond that, it is an entertaining talk. It's a fun talk. It doesn't get ugly. It doesn't get deep. It doesn't get depressing. None of that kind of stuff. It's a fun talk. So tune in and you'll learn some things, and I learned some things definitely, and so it'll be cool. So that's Michael Elledge. That interview is coming up in a few minutes. I am just back from the car wash where I was washing off 3 states worth of dust and bugs and dirt from my car. Driving through the desert for a week and a half is a dirty experience. It really is. But the shows were fantastic. Laughlin was great. Honda was great. The Comedy Time taping at the Ice House was fantastic. And I was excited to do that because I don't remember if I told you last time. I had done comedytime.tv is a website that posts stand-up comedy that they film specifically for their website and their YouTube channel. And I had done a set for them about 7 years ago. And I was terrible. The crowd was not with me. Something went wrong that night. It was a bad set. And I thought, well, they're never going to use that one, whatever. And to this day, I still see that video pop up on weird little websites. I can't find it on the Comedy Time website, thankfully, but it's somewhere because it does pop up on weird little off the beaten path type of websites. So I needed to go back and do another set for Comedy Time to improve my own experience in with them. And this one, crazy good. The audience was fantastic. I was firing on all cylinders after having done a bunch of shows that week. It was fantastic. So when that comes out, I'll let you know. I don't know when it's out or when it's coming out, but it'll be out, and I'll slip you a link so that you can check it out. And of course, there are more shows coming up because that happens. If you want to see me this week, the Friday the 24th, I'll be at Swiss Park in Newark, California. So I know I've got a lot of Northern California listeners here. If you've been waiting for me to play the Bay Area and do a headlining set, this is the place to see it. Swiss Park, Newark, June 24th. I think it's a free show too, so it's gonna be a good one. Saturday, June the 25th, I'll be headlining the Windmill Winery in Tracy, California, and June 26th, I will be at the Crow's Nest in Santa Cruz, California, and then June 30th, you can catch me at Spice Monkey in Oakland, California. I've been playing there quite a bit, but it's a fun show. That's why I do it. Yeah. So went to the NorCal Pirate Fest over the weekend. I have not been to a pirate festival in quite a long time. And the other one I went to was the NorCal Pirate Festival, which was a few years back. And because it's the one that we have around here. And I don't, usually when I'm on the road, I'm not syncing up with where the other festivals are. So I hadn't been to one in a long time, and my goal in going out there was to meet some new people to bring on the show. I had actually hoped to do some interviews at the festival, but things were just too crowded and noisy and all that kind of stuff. So that didn't quite work out. I was going in with less of a plan than I needed to have. But I did meet some new people who I'm going to get on the show because there were some amazing artisans out there. People making frock coats and pirate hats and just like really cool, great stuff, and expensive. Oh my gosh. It is really expensive to dress like a pirate, which is probably why, well, not if you go to dressuplikeapirate.com. Shayna Vest, guest from last week, yeah, her price is much more reasonable. But these custom-made things, holy cow, is it expensive to get your pirate kit together. I was looking at $500 hats and $700 coats and things like that, which is interesting because if you were to go to like a festival, just like your town's, 4th of July festival or whatever festival, their corn festival, the asparagus festival, whatever, there's probably an asparagus festival. Out there, it's, little bits of jewelry, and you probably would not spend more than $20 on anything in that festival. But when you got an audience that is focused like this, where you go, pirates are coming, it's a pirate festival. Wow, does things get expensive? They get expensive. But man, did I wish I had the money, because there were some amazing hats and some amazing coats and some just boots and, flintlocks and knives and swords, and I just really great stuff. So I had a great time. It was hotter than bejesus out there. Now, granted, it was probably like 85, which is not all that hot. For Californians, we get all freaky, right? If it's too hot. If it's like anywhere outside plus or minus 5 degrees of 73, we freak out. But it was really warm, and it was out under the sun, pretty much, not a lot of covering. So it was very warm, and just the people wearing the full get-up. I was in jeans and a t-shirt, and I was just like, it was so warm. So I don't know what it felt like under those hats and coats, but good for them. That's dedication. I appreciate it. One of the things I noticed was that a lot of the booths, I found some booths that were very specifically pirate stuff. And a lot of the booths, I was like, I'll bet you change your sign and go do the Ren fairs too. So there was like a lot of that crossover kind of stuff. Everybody was very branded towards the pirate thing. But there was a lot of stuff that easily could have been rebranded for Ren fairs and things like that too. So those were not the people I necessarily wanted to talk to. I wanted to talk to the real piratey people. So I've got some cool people coming onto the show pretty soon here. Got to see O'Craven perform from right here in San Jose. Good to see those guys perform finally. We've been missing each other for the last couple of months. And man, did they put on a heck of a show. Very good show. A lot of shows. On Saturday, they played 3 times. Yeah, they played it, I think, at noon, at 5, and then they played the Buccaneers Bash after hours. I got to see the 5 o'clock show. Did not get to see the I didn't get to go to the Buccaneers Bash because I had to toddle on off to do a gig of my own where I played a barbecue joint in Petaluma for 15 people. But it's okay because I made a nice amount of money for doing that. So it's all good for me. But O'Craven was fantastic. If you have a chance to go see him, I absolutely recommend it. High energy, really great playing, really great songs. Man, it was fantastic. Really good stuff. So if you're digging this show, which I hope you are, if you're listening this far, you must still be on board because we're going to get to the interview in just a second. But if you're liking this show, make sure to join us on Facebook/Under the Crossbones, Twitter/Under Crossbones. No the in that one because there's too many characters. And make sure you subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or wherever you get your podcast from. You got Podcast Addict or Overcast or whatever. Just subscribe somewhere, and then you get all these episodes. They just pop right into your phone right when they come out on every Tuesday morning. And you can find all the show notes for this show, of course, at underthecrossbones.com/045. If you want to help support the show, that is awesome. You can go to underthecrossbones.com/support. There's a little PayPal box there. You can drop in a few doubloons, a few pieces of 8 right in there, however many you want. If the show is worth $1 to you, put $1 in there. If the show is worth $100 to you, put $100 in there. If you put $1,000 in there, I will be your best friend for 2 months. Right? I'm not expensive. I'm not cheap. I'm not expensive. You get it. Put some money in the box. It's nice. It helps support the show. There's also an Amazon banner there. If you click that Amazon banner, you buy yourself something nice. I get a little kickback on that from Amazon. Helps to keep the show up and running. It doesn't cost you anything extra at all. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, that is very super easy and very super cheap. Just check out the little sponsor information on the page there under thecrossbones.com/support. All right. I think we've done all the stuff that I have here in my notes. So are you ready? We're gonna start talking cannons now with Michael Elledge. Check it out. So you are a maker of cannon art pieces. Tell me kind of what that involves.
Well, I've been doing it for about 15 or 16 years. What's involved is throughout my life, I was a weapons person. I like Stone Age axes and swords and knives and bows and arrows, and then as you got older, it became firearms, and I just had interest in that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But the cannon thing, that was the ultimate. The antique guns and the antique weapons and the antique cannons, that was the ultimate. And here about 16 years ago, I finally splurged and bought a large cannon.
Okay, a real one?
A real one, a full-scale 10-pound Parrott rifle.
Wow.
It was a Civil War gun, and I was enthralled. It was real expensive. Some people have motorcycles, some people have bass boats, some people have cannons, and so that's what I got, and it was quite fun. I did a lot of Civil War reenacting with it for quite a few years. As I was doing that, I also took up the woodworking hobby,
uh-huh.
and just because I wanted to make my own stuff. A friend had a lathe, and he helped me make a barrel that was like 24 inches long, and I was hooked. So I got a little shop in my backyard, and I started making stuff. And then I joined a discussion forum. There's an artillery discussion forum that I joined so I could talk to other people about cannons. and then I found that there's a number of people, manufacturers, making full-scale stuff, but there's not very many people at all making sub-scale stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I found I had a talent for it, so I kind of started making cannon carriages, and then I found that people wanted me to make cannon carriages for them, and it was kind of fun. So I just kind of evolved into this, and here about 4 or 5 years ago, I retired, and so I've been kind of just messing around with this in my backyard for quite some time. I'm by myself. My wife helps me. She does my paint work and my stain work, and we have quite a bit of fun with it.
That's great. And so, when you say subscale, what kind of scale are you working at?
I'm the smallest naval carriage that I've ever made was 7 inches long for an 11-inch long barrel.
Okay.
The biggest I've made carriage was for a 6-foot long barrel that went into, you saw it if you looked at that display I did for the Camp Mabry Museum, the Military Forces Museum. That was they had a bronze-colored barrel, 6 foot long, that they wanted a carriage for. So I built that carriage, and I have people interested right now, and even some larger ones right now. So anywhere between full-scale and down to the littlest stuff, there are people making full-scale. There's almost no one making half-scale or quarter-scale. And there's a lot of that. Those are the barrels that people can afford.
Sure.
Carriages are expensive, actually more expensive than barrels most of the time.
Really? I wonder why that is.
Because there's seriously more time involved in building a carriage.
Oh, okay, interesting. And so, what is it about the carriage that makes it more time consuming than the barrel?
Well, the barrel's turned on a lathe, or some people are casting them, and they can do a barrel in a day. A carriage can take me 6 weeks.
Oh.
The metal work on a carriage is the hardest part, and a carriage for a field carriage for a full scale gun can run $14,000. A naval carriage can run $7,000 or $8,000. These little bitty ones are clearly less expensive, but they still take got the same number of pieces, but they're just smaller.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, that all sounds like a hobby I can't afford to get into. That's for sure. And so, what generated your love of weaponry and things like that? Where did you come from as a kid and things like that? That kind of brought that into your life.
I was born and raised in Texas, and guns are kind of part of our life over here. And
Sure.
I was taught at a young age how to respect and handle a gun, and by my dad. And it was just kind of there. There were guns in the house, and I have 4 brothers, and we all knew what to do and what not to do. We all knew not to touch them if somebody was with us, and it just kind of evolved into bigger things. It's especially as you grow up and can afford to start buying some things on your own, you follow your hobby, your interest.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And was there a particular draw about cannons that you sort of narrowed in on, or was it just something that you went, oh, this kind of works and people like it, and that's where I'm going?
Just bigger and better, you know. It's just as you go through the gun hobby, it's just bigger and better, and I just wanted one, but they were expensive, and it took a while.
Yeah. And so you'll be moving on to tanks next, right?
You know, the thought process is there, but there is a line. I can put a cannon in my front porch, but I don't know if I can put a tank in my front yard.
Right. The neighbors get worried a little bit.
They already think I'm crazy.
Yeah. And so you're building, I imagine you're building like different periods of cannons and things like that. So since this is a show about pirates and stuff, what would be the difference between, say, a cannon from the early 1700s and something from the 1860s for like a Civil War cannon?
Well, the pirates most definitely were fairly restricted to shipboard cannons, and so they had a naval type carriage. They didn't have anything with the big spoked wheels. That was for moving across land. A naval carriage is not ever meant for transport. It is only built for recoil, and you couldn't hook it to a horse and pull it around.
Right.
The naval carriage that was shipboard had wooden wheels, whereas a garrison carriage that was generally sitting on stone had an iron band around those wooden wheels. And you wouldn't put an iron band on a ship's deck. Mostly I just finished reading a book called Under the Black Flag. You might be familiar with it.
Yeah.
Pirates didn't necessarily go buy their cannons. They took whatever was available from whatever ship they looted.
Right.
And so there were many different styles of barrels, from small murderers and 1-pounders and swivel guns up to 24 and maybe even 32-pounders that were 10 foot long and weighed, oh goodness, I bet a barrel like that weighs 4,000 pounds. But they took them, and they had the carriages for them. When something wore out, they just went and took another one.
Yes.
So the 1700s and 1800s, the basic style naval carriage were pretty similar. The barrels changed and got more modern, but they were all muzzle loaders, smoothbore muzzle loaders at the time. Okay.
And can you, I wonder if you can explain some of the terminology, which I kind of know, but some of my listeners may not. When you say like a 32-pounder, what does that mean?
That means it shot a 32-pound round ball. When the guns in those days were measured in the poundage of the ball they shot.
Okay.
There were different types of shot, but a 1-pounder shot a 1-pound round ball. It was probably 1.5 inches in diameter. I'd have to do the math, but probably that. A 6-pounder is like 3.6 inches diameter. A 12-pounder is 4.62 inches diameter. And so a 32-pounder or even a 42-pounder, those get to be pretty good size and can do considerable damage.
Yeah, certainly. So was there a difference? I know in the 16, 1700s, they were using things like chain shot and just like,
chain
random
shot, bar shot, canister. There was grape shot. The chain shot and bar shot. The bar shot was 2 balls connected by a bar that folded in half and went down the bore. When those things shot, they started spinning in the air, and they were aimed into the rigging. They would slice through ropes and cut big holes in the sail, which would, of course, make the sails lose their wind and seriously slow somebody down. The round shot was murderous. They shot at the water line. Grape shot was or canister shot were hundreds of little balls that went into a package of canvas and went down on top of a powder charge, and they would rake the decks with those.
Mm-hmm.
They would spread out like a shotgun.
Right. And were they using those same type of things later on during Civil War and things like that?
No. During the Civil War, the guns got really big, and they could fire from very far away. There's Civil War guns that have a range of 5 miles, which you can barely see a ship 5 miles away.
Right.
But the earlier pirates, if you will, they were fighting much closer.
Sure. Yeah.
In fact, their intent was to board you.
Right. Yeah. Was it? Was it a factor of just the new distance that was available, or was it a factor of just things being sort of consolidated government-wise, and they said, okay, we're just going to narrow it down and use this one particular. We're just going to use cannonballs, and we're not going to use this other stuff. Was there some sort of evolution there?
There was. In Civil War, they were still using canister and grape shot.
Okay.
Against troops. They could use that on land in their field carriages also. But during the war, the rifles became they started rifling the cannon barrels. And with the rifling, are you familiar with that, where they put the grooves inside the bore of a gun?
I kind of know about it, but I don't know exactly what effect it has.
Okay, what it does is it makes they went from shooting a round ball to shooting a bolt-shaped, longer bolt-shaped projectile. Uh-huh. And what it did, when a rifling in your barrel makes your bullet leave the barrel spinning.
Okay.
And because it's spinning, it flies straight. It doesn't tumble. Mm-hmm. And because it's flying straight, they could put percussion caps in the nose of a shell, right, and it would explode when it hit. So these exploding shells got a whole lot more modern. They did have them earlier. There was a lot of experimental shells that would light with fuses and explode when people shot them at each other. Mm-hmm. In the mid-1770s, an English lieutenant named Shrapnel developed a shell that would explode pretty accurately. It was lots of times before then, it was killing people in the gun crew because they just were very unreliable. And Shrapnel developed a good shell that did much better.
His name was Shrapnel?
Yes. Yep, that's where that came from. Okay,
that's interesting. That's an interesting little factoid. I've never exactly knew where that came from, so that's really interesting. That's bizarre. And so when you're doing research for, when people come to you, do they go, I need this particular kind of time period, cannon or carriage? What kind of research do you do to make sure that you've got that correct?
Well, most of the time, the naval carriages are extremely similar. What matters is that they are built per the drawings from the 17 or 1800s so that they will withstand recoil. Mm-hmm. A properly made carriage will withstand recoil. An improperly made carriage, the recoil will beat it apart. There's numerous carriages I know of that are shattered because they were built by somebody that just didn't know what they were doing, or they took shortcuts.
Right.
So there's plenty of books available, and there's drawings available. They're not hard to find. So I have the drawings from the 17 or 1800s. Mostly when somebody has a barrel, they found one in an antique shop, or they just bought a replica. There's smaller replicas available, but nobody's building carriages for them. Huh. So they would go on Google. They Google cannon carriages. I'm ranked number 1 under cannon carriages. And they'll go straight to my website. They'll page through my pictures. I've got over 100 pages of pictures on there to look at of stuff I've made, and they'll look at my work, and my work's pretty nice, and they can recognize that, and my stuff's expensive, but there are people out there that are willing to buy Cadillacs, and they want my stuff, they want my work, and that's actually pretty refreshing. It's pretty head banging for me. I like it.
That's great. That's very cool. And so what were you doing before? You said you've been doing this for like 15 years and you recently retired. What was your day gig?
I built communication towers for 25 years.
Oh.
And then after that, I went and helped somebody with high-end housing. I built high-end houses for 4 years. And the housing market crunched a little bit. I got laid off and just started doing this full time. It was a hobby that turned into something that made me a little bit of money.
Yeah, and those are the best things always. That's how all of my businesses start.
I've kept doing it, and it just it's not a, I can't call it a business, but I make carriages for somebody if they want me to make a carriage for them.
Sure, yeah, that's great. Well, if you weren't retired, I'd tell you to come out here to California because they're building condos on every inch of land we have left here. But
really,
but I will advise you to stay retired and keep building cannon carriages because that sounds way more fun. And so, do you have you worked much with actual like metal cannons, not reproductions, but the real thing?
The real thing, sure. I've done numerous carriages. I built I built 99 carriages so far, and I've done a number of them for original pieces, original older smaller pieces, and most of them are for replicas. I've done some museum work. That was a lot of fun, and it's people somehow hit my website and I just finished some ramrods and sponges and worm for a large cannon at the Texas Seaport Museum here in Galveston. And those things were 10 feet long. That barrel is 10 feet long, 12 feet long, weighed 8,000 pounds.
Wow!
And it came from a Texas ship in 1830s.
Interesting. And so, where are some of the places that people who can't afford your carriages and cannons, where can they see some of your work out in public?
The Texas Military Forces Museum,
okay.
Huge free museum at Camp Mabry in Austin.
Uh-huh.
It's free to get in, and I have that shipboard display that I did there, with examples of chain shot and ramrods and sponges. The worm that goes in to clean, it's a spiral-looking corkscrew thing that goes in the barrel first after you shoot it to clear all debris out so you're not putting fresh powder down on any burning embers.
Oh, okay.
The wet sponge helps put those embers out. There's a pirate museum down in Galveston on the Strand, and I've got 6 of my guns in that pirate museum. They're the concrete guns that I built. They're full-scale concrete gun on a naval carriage. They look real. If you're standing 1 foot away from them, you think they're real, but they're made out of concrete. They're considerably lighter than a real gun, but they're very real. They certainly don't fire.
Yeah.
And I have another one down there on the Pleasure Pier in Galveston that a pirate photo booth somebody set up one of my guns there.
That's great. And so when you build a cannon out of concrete, say, what kind of finishing techniques are you using on it to make it look like metal?
I have a fiberglass mold that a friend made for me, and it cast a barrel that's 66 inches long. It cast a model of an 1841 6-pounder, and it's detailed quite well. It comes out of the mold smooth and detailed, and I treat it with muriatic acid and then paint it black, and that's all, just paint. I'm painting concrete, so you're just paint on concrete, so it takes yearly maintenance. You probably have to slap a coat of paint on it, and then I build a naval carriage for it. I've actually, it's a great thing for people to put in their front yard. I have one on my front porch. A number of people buy them and they have flagpoles in their yard. They put them underneath there. It's been a really good seller for me.
That's interesting. What does the acid do? The muriatic acid?
It takes it cleans the concrete and etches it a little bit so the paint sticks better.
Oh, I see. Okay. You can tell I'm not a handyman person at all. I don't know any of this stuff. I live in California with hippies. I don't know anything about guns or construction.
Well, I used to be a hippie, and then I went to work.
Well, this has been really fun, Michael. Really, really interesting. So your website is jmelledge.com. That's correct?
It's J.M. Elledge. My last name is Elledge.
Oh,
so I'm James. I'm James Michael. So it's jmelledge.com.
Yeah, right.
And you can contact me through my website. There's a contact me page. Phil, how did you find me?
I don't remember. I probably a random Google search for pirate stuff or a link on somebody else's site, or I honestly don't remember where I found your site.
A couple of years back, I did a search for pirate groups and probably sent out goodness, 150 emails across the country
Uh-huh.
to pirate groups, and I know some of them put me on a link, and and once a year I send out a newsletter to all these people, so I'm just to keep in touch with them.
Sure.
But I just try and drive as many hits to the website as you can, and there's a lot of interest. Some people think I'm too expensive, and some people don't. So it's been really a fun hobby.
Well, I'm definitely sure it's worth the money if that's what you're looking for. So that's very cool. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you'd like my audience to know?
I don't think so. It's been fun.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, I really enjoyed this interview, and I will talk to you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There it is, friends. That was my talk with Michael Elledge about cannons and all sorts of good fiery boom boom things. You can find him and all his work at jmelledge.com. Elledge is ELLEDGE, and there will be, of course, a link to that on the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/045. My friends, there are pirates out there. There are real pirates. There are pirates. I'm not talking about the Somali pirates, no Captain Phillips kind of stuff. I'm talking the pirates that dress badly and sit in their mother's basement and eat Cheetos and steal your identity. And it's bad, bad news. It's just not good. Just recently, I had some whack job sending out a bunch of spam emails from one of my domains. Had to go in, change the password, all that kind of stuff. I've had my identity stolen. I've been hacked. You don't want to do that because it's a giant pain in the butt. And so the way that you can avoid that is you go to lifelock.com and you get yourself a membership. And they're very cheap. It's like $10 a month, something ridiculously cheap for what they do. They go out, and they've been very helpful to me with everything. They go out to all the deep, ugly parts, the dark parts of the web, and they go, ooh, your information's out there. You better change it. Here's how to fix it. They will help you fix it. They will find it and help you fix it, and that is what LifeLock does. So it's very easy. You can also get a 10% off your membership through here, Under the Crossbones. If you go to underthecrossbones.com/lifelock. Check that out. So we got some comedy music on the show today, of course. For comedy today, we have got Dale Jones. And Dale is he's one of these guys that's kind of underground and shouldn't be. He's so funny. And so energetic. Like, I just go nuts every time I see the guy live. He's absolutely fantastic. So you're going to hear some stuff from Dale Jones. You can find him at dalejonescomic.com. And then for music today, we're going to hear a song called Police Brutality by Dissension Rising. That sounds rough. It's not as rough as it sounds. But here's the thing. The last few weeks, we've had some pretty easygoing music on the show. Good, but easygoing music. So today, I thought we'd step it up a little bit. By the way, if you're driving, if you're listening to this while you're driving, the song has a siren at the beginning, okay? Just so you know, so you don't freak out and think the cops are trying to pull you over, or there's an ambulance you're trying to get over, because I hate when I'm driving and there's a siren in the song. It drives me nuts because I'm looking around for the siren, wondering where it is. Okay, the siren is in the song. So if you're listening to the song while you're driving, just be aware of that and don't freak out and try to pull over to the right. All right? So here we go. We're going to hear some comedy from Dale Jones and then a song called Police Brutality by Dissension Rising.
I'm not good at meeting people. I get nervous. I give out too much information, too. I'm like, hi, what's your name? I have a prescription. And then that voice kicks in, he's like, try to connect with him, Dale. Tell him your hobbies. I'm like, well, I'd like to sit on the toilet till my legs go numb. And then I jump off the seat and see how far I can run before I fall down. And then I measure that distance because you got to have goals in life. You're darn right I've been fired a lot. I got fired one time for being tardy. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to call people that anymore. And some of you seem confused. Yes, this is a southern accent. I grew up in a little small country town. Except back then they didn't call it a country town. They called it a rural community. And the problem with that is I can't say the word rural. First day of kindergarten, I'm trying to tell these kids where I live. I sound like an idiot. Like, hi, my name's Dale, and I live at Roar, Out, Run, Roar, Rib, Live, Roar. Sit down, Scooby-Doo. Which makes me think maybe my dog did know how to talk, and he was trying to help me out. I was like, roar, roar, roar. Listen up, asshole. Roar.
And that is our show for today, friends. Thank you for tuning in once again. I absolutely always appreciate it. If you want to find out more about Michael Elledge and his canons and all that kind of good stuff, go to jmelledge.com. If you want to find out more from Dale Jones and hear more of his funny stuff, go to dalejonescomic.com. And if you want to hear more from Dissension Rising, go to dissensionrising.com. And of course, links to all of those will be in the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/045. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit your iTunes or your Slacker or your Google Play or your Overcast or your Podcast Addict or whatever you're using, and just click that little subscribe button. Make it easy on yourself. And that's it. That's our show for this week, friends. I'll catch you next time. Bye.